The text message from Rachel came at 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. I still remember the exact time because I was in the middle of a client presentation when my phone buzzed in my pocket. Under normal circumstances, I would have ignored it, but something made me glance down, perhaps the universe's way of saying, "Emma, you need to see this now. We need to talk. It's about Marcus." My stomach tightened. Rachel and I had been best friends since college, roommates for 3 years before I moved in with Marcus. She was the one who held my hair back when I got food poisoning on spring break, the maid of honor at my wedding, the person who knew every single one of my secrets. What could she possibly need to tell me about my husband of 4 years? I rushed through the rest of my presentation, probably making little sense to the clients as my mind raced through possibilities. Was Marcus hurt? Had he planned some surprise that Rachel knew about? The drive to the coffee shop where she asked to meet felt eternal. When I arrived, Rachel was already there, fidgeting with a napkin that she'd shredded into tiny pieces. Her eyes were red-rimmed, and she couldn't meet my gaze. "Just tell me," I said, not even sitting down. "I slept with Marcus," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the espresso machine's hiss. The world tilted. I gripped the edge of the table to steady myself, finally dropping into the chair opposite her. 3 words had just demolished 15 years of friendship and 4 years of marriage. "It wasn't planned," Rachel continued, tears streaming down her face. "We were both drunk after your birthday party last month when you went to bed early. It just happened, and then it happened again." "Again?" The word came out as a croak. She nodded miserably. 3 times. The last time was last week when you were in Chicago for that conference." I felt strangely calm, as if I were floating above the scene, watching someone else's life fall apart. "Does he know you're telling me?" "No," she said. "He wanted to keep it secret, but I couldn't live with myself anymore. I'm so sorry, Emma. I hate myself for this." I stood up, my movements mechanical. "I have to go. Emma, please, don't follow me." The drive home was a blur. Thoughts crashed through my mind like violent waves against a shore. Every late night at work, every unexplained absence, every time Marcus's phone buzzed and he turned it away from me, they all made terrible sense now. I found Marcus in our kitchen, chopping vegetables for dinner as if it were any ordinary Tuesday. He smiled when I walked in, that crooked smile that had made me fall in love with him 8 years ago. "You're home early," he said, leaning in for a kiss. I stepped back. Rachel told me everything. The knife clattered onto the cutting board. His face went through a series of expressions, shock, guilt, then something like relief. "Emma, I'm sorry. I was going to tell you, I just—" "Save it," I interrupted. "I don't want your excuses right now." He reached for me, but I moved away. "It meant nothing," he insisted. "I love you. It was a stupid mistake." 3 stupid mistakes, I corrected him. His eyes widened. "She told you everything, huh? Why her, Marcus? My best friend?" He ran his hands through his hair, a nervous habit I once found endearing. "I don't know. We were drunk, you were asleep. It was wrong. So wrong." I nodded slowly, a plan forming in my mind. "You're right about that." "What happens now?" he asked, his voice small. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Now, I'm going to invite you both to dinner." "What?" Confusion clouded his features. "You heard me. Friday night. Here. You, me, and Rachel." My voice was eerily calm. "I think we all need to have a conversation, don't you?" "Emma, I don't understand." "You will," I promised, heading upstairs to our bedroom. "You both will." I locked the door behind me and pulled out my phone. My fingers trembled slightly as I composed a text to Rachel. "Dinner. Our place. Friday at 7. Be there." Then I opened my laptop and began to research exactly what I would need for the most important dinner party of my life. The next 3 days passed in a fog of pain and meticulous planning. Marcus tried to talk to me several times, but I maintained an eerie composure that clearly unnerved him. I slept in the guest bedroom, leaving him alone with his guilt and confusion. Both he and Rachel bombarded me with texts, apologies, explanations, pleas, but I responded only with details about Friday's dinner. "Dress nicely," I texted them both on Thursday night. "This is a special occasion." On Friday morning, I called in sick to work and began preparations. My hands moved automatically through the familiar motions of cooking, my mind oddly detached as I chopped, seared, and seasoned. The meal would be perfect. I had always been the better cook between Rachel and me, something she readily admitted during our countless dinner parties over the years. I set the table with our best china, crystal glasses, and silver candlesticks, wedding gifts from Rachel's parents. The irony wasn't lost on me. Fresh flowers adorned the center of the table, and soft music played in the background. Everything needed to be perfect for what I had planned. At 6:45 p.m, Marcus emerged from our bedroom, dressed in a blue button-down that brought out his eyes. He looked handsome, uncertain, and utterly miserable. "Emma, please tell me what's going on," he said, hovering in the dining room doorway. "Why are you doing this? If you want to talk, we can talk, just us. We don't need Rachel here." I smiled tightly, adjusting a napkin. "Oh, I think we do. This involves all three of us, doesn't it?" The doorbell rang at 6:58 p.m. Marcus froze, looking at me with something like fear in his eyes. "Would you get that?" I asked sweetly. "It would be rude to keep our guest waiting." He moved reluctantly toward the door while I lit the candles, their warm glow casting dramatic shadows across the room. I heard murmured voices in the entryway, awkwardness, tension, perhaps a whispered argument. Then they appeared together, Rachel looking pale and beautiful in a simple black dress, her eyes darting nervously between Marcus and me. "Thank you for coming," I said formally, gesturing toward the table. "Please, sit down." They exchanged a glance before taking their seats, as far from each other as the round table would allow. I remained standing, pouring red wine into each of our glasses. Nobody spoke as I disappeared into the kitchen, returning with the first course, a delicate salad with pears, walnuts, and blue cheese. "This looks amazing," Rachel said softly, breaking the silence. "Emma, Not yet," I interrupted, taking my seat. "Let's enjoy our meal first, shall we? There will be plenty of time to talk." We ate in uncomfortable silence, the clink of silverware against china painfully loud in the quiet room. I made a show of enjoying my food, commenting on the flavors, while Marcus pushed his salad around his plate and Rachel took tiny bird-like bites. When I cleared the first course and brought out the main dish, Marcus's favorite rosemary lamb with roasted potatoes, he finally spoke. "Emma, this is torture. Just say what you need to say. Yell at us, throw things, tell us you never want to see us again. Anything but this. Performance." I set down my fork and knife, carefully dabbing my lips with my napkin. "Is that what you think this is? A performance?" "I don't know what this is," he admitted. Rachel set down her glass with a shaking hand. "Emma, we deserve whatever you want to do to us. We betrayed you in the worst possible way. If you brought us here to humiliate us or make us suffer, I understand. Just, please say something." I took a long sip of wine, savoring the moment. Their confusion, their dread. It was exactly what I wanted, but not for the reasons they imagined. 3 days ago, I began, my voice steady. My entire world collapsed. My husband and my best friend, the two people I trusted most in this world, betrayed me in the most intimate way possible. At first, I wanted revenge. I researched all kinds of dramatic scenarios. I smiled slightly. The internet has some very creative suggestions for what to do when your husband cheats with your best friend. They both paled, glancing at their plates, then their wine glasses. "Relax," I said, noticing their concern. "I didn't poison anything, that would be excessive." Marcus exhaled audibly. "Instead," I continued, "I decided to give myself what I actually needed: closure." I reached under my chair and pulled out a manila envelope, placing it on the table between us. "What's that?" Marcus asked, his voice hoarse. "Divorce papers," I replied calmly. Already filled out. All you need to do is sign. Rachel gasped softly as tears began to roll down Marcus's cheeks. And after dinner, I continued, pulling a small key from my pocket and placing it in front of Rachel. You're going to help Marcus pack his things and take him to your place. This is your house key. I won't be needing it anymore. Emma, Rachel began. I held up my hand. I'm not finished. There's dessert. I disappeared into the kitchen again, leaving them to sit in stunned silence. When I returned, I carried a chocolate soufflé, Rachel's favourite dessert that she'd always begged me to make for special occasions. You made soufflé? She whispered, tears welling in her eyes. The gesture struck her harder than any slap could have. I did, I said, serving each of them a portion before taking my seat again. Consider it a parting gift. Marcus hadn't touched the divorce papers. He stared at them as if they might vanish if he looked away. Emma, please, can't we talk about this? 4 years of marriage. Don't throw it away over one mistake. 3 mistakes, I corrected him again, my voice ice. And it wasn't the cheating that ended our marriage, Marcus. It was the lying. It was the betrayal of trust. It was looking me in the eye every day knowing what you'd done. Rachel pushed her soufflé away untouched. I never meant for this to happen, Emma. I hate myself for what I did to you. That's the funny thing, I said, taking a bite of the delicate chocolate dessert. I don't hate either of you. I'm just done. What does that mean? Marcus asked. I set down my spoon and looked directly at him. It means I refuse to let your poor choices define the rest of my life. I won't be the bitter ex-wife or the woman so broken by betrayal that she never trusts again. I turned to Rachel. And I won't waste energy hating the friend who betrayed me. You two did what you did. Now I'm doing what I need to do. Rachel's tears flowed freely now. So, this dinner wasn't about revenge? No, I said simply. This dinner is about me taking control of the narrative. Instead of being the victim in your affair story, I'm the woman who had enough self-respect to walk away with dignity. And what happens after tonight? Marcus asked, his voice small. I took another bite of soufflé before answering. Tomorrow morning I'm flying to London. Remember Thomas, my college friend who's been trying to get me to join his design firm for years? I called him yesterday. The job is mine if I want it. London. Marcus looked stunned. You're moving to another country? New life, new start, I said with a shrug that belied the hours I'd spent crying before making this decision. I've already spoken to a realtor about selling the house. We can handle the details through our lawyers. Rachel reached across the table, her hand stopping short of touching mine. Emma, I know I have no right to ask this, but is there any chance you could forgive me someday? I considered her question carefully. Forgiveness isn't something you earn, Rachel. It's something I might give myself when I'm ready. Not for your sake, but for mine. The weight of my words settled over the table. The 3 of us sat there, surrounded by the remnants of our last meal together, each contemplating the pieces of our shattered relationships. Finally, Marcus picked up the pen I'd placed beside the divorce papers. His hand trembled slightly as he signed each flagged page. When he finished, he looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. I really did love you, Emma. I still do. I know, I said, and I meant it. But sometimes love isn't enough. After they left, Marcus with 2 hastily packed suitcases and Rachel with red, swollen eyes, I cleared the table methodically, washing each dish and putting everything back in its place. The house felt strangely peaceful, as if it too was ready for a fresh start. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Olivia, the only person I'd told about my plan. Is it done? Yes, I replied. They're gone. How do you feel? She asked. I thought about it as I corked the half-empty wine bottle. How did I feel? Sad, certainly. Hurt, still. But also, unexpectedly, free. Like I just served the last supper of my old life, I texted back. And I'm ready for breakfast in my new one. Later that night, as I packed my own bags for London, I found a photo of the 3 of us, Marcus, Rachel, and me, laughing at some long-forgotten joke at a beach bonfire years ago. I traced our smiling faces with my finger, acknowledging the grief of losing not just my husband, but also my best friend in one cruel blow. I didn't tear up the photo in anger or burn it in symbolic revenge. Instead, I simply placed it in a box labelled Past and sealed it shut. Then I turned to my suitcase and carefully packed the dress I would wear on my first day at my new job, in my new city, in my new life. The dinner party had served its purpose. It wasn't about making them suffer or exacting revenge. It was about me finding the strength to say goodbye on my own terms. As I zipped my suitcase closed, I realized that the most powerful response to betrayal isn't vengeance. It's reclaiming your story and writing yourself a better ending.
Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. There's a lot more interesting content coming soon.